Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Ajay Drives. Today, what you see in front of you is the Tata Altroz, and this is going to be the car that I reviewed today. Now, Tata has really been on the radar for quite some time now. These people have really come out with some of the best designs that you see in the industry, and this is no exception to that. This is the Tata Altroz, and this was something that, when everybody saw in the concepts, was one of the most beautiful cars in terms of a concept car. However, the impressive thing that Tata ended up doing was the fact that they actually retained most of the concept into the production version of this car, which is why this car truly looks like one of the best hatchbacks or sub 10 lakh sort of hatchbacks that you get on the road today. Its key competitors at the moment are right now the Suzuki Baleno and the Hyundai i20. And not just design, it actually has quite a few different things that keep it above those two cars. And one of the most important things to Tata is safety. This is a five-star rated safety hatchback, and you cannot get any other car in this category with that safety rating. So, talking about the design of this car, you can see that the front end of this car is so intimidating. As I said, they retained 80 to 90% of the concept, and they've really done a truly fantastic job with the face of this car. You can see the headlights meet the grille right in the middle, and it's accentuated by this black accent on top. I know right now we're in a gray car, so it's not all that clear, but as you can see, the design has really done, they've done a fantastic job with the design. Apart from that, as you can see, there's also a chrome line that goes below the grille, and that actually makes every other part of the car pop, because that's the only non-dark element in this entire dark car. So truly one of the best front ends right now in a hatchback that you can get compared to all of its competitors. All right, so now I'm going to be talking about the side design of this car. So this is the left hand side where I'm standing right now, and as you can see, what they've done with the design here is actually quite nice. They've created this nice shoulder line, and it's an unbroken shoulder line. As you can see, the door handles have been placed actually behind the rear quarter window, which is why they've actually kept a very uninterrupted design with this shoulder line. This is actually giving the car a little bit more character. And as you can see, this one door handle that they do have does actually match with the entire look of the car, and it goes all around. So it's a very even design, and they've done a good job with the side of the car. Apart from that, what accentuates the side of this car are really those wheels. These are 16-inch rims, and they look fantastic. I think they've got a great look to them. The black and silver really, really look good on this gray car. They might not look good with some other colors, but with this specific color, it definitely looks really, really nice. And this black accent here as well. As you can see, right above the shoulder line, it's got a black accent going for right below the windows, and that looks great as well. All right, another thing that I'd like to talk about are these wheel hunches. So another thing that they've done is, while they've carried the shoulder line along the rest of the car, they've also accentuated the wheel wells, and they look really nice with this little protruding section of the bumper. The one thing they really should not have done is place the indicators here. This breaks the design a little bit and really doesn't make the side of the car look that great. Just that one thing. They should have really fixed that and put that in the mirrors instead. So now I'd like to talk about the rear section of the car. And again, they've done a very good job with the design. They've put the name of the car, Altroz, in the middle section of the car. And that's accentuated again by a piano black highlight here, just like the side sections of the car. So they've done a good job with the design at the back. I think a little bit cluttery, I would say, because the back line kind of ends here and then restarts and then ends again. So I think they could have done a little bit better of a job layering it. I don't think it's over designed. I do think that certain elements of this back look really, really nice, but they could have just done with a flatter section on this section right here. Another thing that they've done is they haven't actually mentioned the trim anywhere on this car. They've kept the design really, really clean, and there's no actual trim name or anything put in the different sections of the car. This is all there is. It's an Altroz, it's a clean design, and it looks really, really nice. So now, while we're on the back of this car, I'd like to talk about the boot space that this car provides. So again, a simple tug on a button right below the Tata logo. I really like that. And it has about 345 liters of boot capacity. There's actually a pretty big lip here, so it might not be the easiest loading bags in here, but it's a deep boot. It gives you a lot of space, and for a car in this category, does a fantastic job. All right, so now I am on the inside of the car, and actually getting in this car is a good experience. There's no problem getting into the car, no issues, nothing actually hindering getting into the car itself. Now, while I'm on the interior, I want to talk a little bit about how this interior looks. Now, they have actually done a very good job layering this dash in a way where it makes you feel like all of the materials inside are very premium. Of course, this is a hatchback. It does sit in the sub 10 lakh category. However, the plastics might be hard, but they're textured really nicely. So all of the textured materials that they put on the dash make it feel more upmarket than it actually might be. And the same thing they've done even with the middle section of the dashboard. They've got this nice silver accent running through the entire length of the interior. And that really accentuates, again, the different parts of the car, including this 7-inch touchscreen that they have here. Again, it's not the biggest in the business, and it is a little bit finicky to use as well. And the owner of the car also tells me that every now and then the touch response just stops. It doesn't actually respond all that well. And we do know that about Tata cars. They do have a reputation for having subpar infotainment systems, but that's all right. I think apart from that, the interior looks quite nice. They've got a very good set of sort of rotary knobs for your air climate controls. And I like that. I like that they didn't integrate everything into the screen in the first place. There are physical buttons to take care of your air conditioning, your aircon, and things of such sorts. Now, apart from that, I'd like to talk about the steering. In the steering of the car, they've actually done a very nice job. It's got a flat bottom steering wheel. This is something that I really like about my Kia Seltos as well. So having a flat bottom steering wheel makes me quite happy. And apart from that, they've got steering mounted controls. I think all of those steering mounted controls are placed very well. Nothing has been left empty. It's been even and well placed in this dash. Apart from that, now I'd like to talk about actually getting the car started. And the start stop button is actually hidden from the driver's view a little bit. But apart from that, they've got some really good animations on the screen. It lets you know that you should align your steering wheel. It lets you know that a couple of doors are open. Your driver and passenger seatbelt warnings are also in here. And the great part is that apart from just that, they focused a lot on the safety aspects of the car, even using all of these different sections of the car, including those driver and passenger seatbelt warnings in the digital gauge cluster. The one thing is the speedometer could have been a little better looking, but I'll let that pass because the other screen looks really, really nice on this interior. Now, moving a little bit lower into the dash, you have a USB port, you have a 12-volt socket, you don't have an auxiliary port, and that's fine. Nobody actually uses those things anymore. So that's completely acceptable. A very deep cubby is available here for you to store your items. The gear lever, again, quite well placed, ergonomic, no problem at all. And from what Tata tells us, the handbrake is placed here because it's easier to actually put it down from the perspective of a driver. And I actually kind of agree because when it's placed a little bit closer to me, I am in a different position, which might be a little bit more uncomfortable. So that's completely acceptable. I think the cup holders of this car are decently designed. I'd like a more rounded shape, but that's all right. It really puts a 1 liter bottle into its cup holders very, very well. And the same goes for the door pads as well. The door pads have good umbrella cup and other storage bits. So it's got, you can store a 1 liter bottle, some other things along with an umbrella in these door pads. And that's really, really nice about this specific interior. Another thing I'd like to point out about this interior is the fact that this touchscreen doesn't come with any physical controls at all. There's no knob to actually move your volume bits around. You can't actually jump to specific menus without getting into that touchscreen at all. And paired with the fact that sometimes it gets a little bit laggy, it does get cumbersome to use. Of course, for a driver, moving your music system, the volume, skipping tracks is completely easy because of that. Those controls available on the steering wheel. However, they really should have put some quick menus with physical buttons on the outside of the screen. All right, so now I'd like to talk about the backseat experience of this car. And for a hatchback, I would like to say that this actually has quite a bit of room. The great thing is that I've mentioned this in my previous videos. I'm 6 feet 2, and I've set this seat exactly to my driving position, and I can easily sit behind me, no problem at all. Comfortably, I think this is a good road trip car. You can do a good 4, 5, 600 kilometers even without any discomfort in the back seat of this car, even as a tall person. The good part is I've got great headroom. There's enough space for my head to move around, and I've got adjustable headrests. Adjustable headrest is a boon when it comes to going on road trips, and this is one of the best kind of headrests that I've seen in a very long time. Actually, thinking about it, it's a very, very nice headrest. And apart from just that, I'd like to talk about this, the center console in this section right here. You've got a good armrest to support your sort of road trip journeys and everything. It's got very good climate controls at the back. Actually, it cools you down very quickly. It's not even that this good actually in the Seltos or any other car that I've sat in the back in this specific segment. Apart from that, it's got a 12-volt socket for you to charge any of your devices. You've got enough sort of room to put a 2, 3, 4 USB outlet in there. And apart from that, you don't have cup holders in here, but that's all right. I think in this segment, there are not that many cars that offer cup holders in the middle section of the back seat. But all in all, a great back seat. I think it's a very comfortable place to go on road trips and actually enjoy the road trip without any discomfort. The only thing that I might have a little bit of a snag about is the under thigh support. There's not much support for my under thigh, and I'm a little bit knees up in the back of this car. But I think for a design that this car has, that's perfectly acceptable, even if they had to make that change. All right, so getting started with the drive experience of this car. So as I've already mentioned, this car's got a 1.2 liter 86 horsepower, three-cylinder naturally aspirated engine, producing about 113 Newton meters of torque. Now, that is a decent figure for the city. And from what I've been told, this car has gone on the highway on cruise control. It does have cruise control, by the way. This car has gone on the highway on cruise control, and it wasn't a problem for the person driving this car. Now, again, I try not to come to at these kind of engines who are more built for practicality and city use with an enthusiast point of view. So I'm not going to talk about it 0 to 100 time, and I'm not going to talk about any of those things. What I am going to talk about is the refinement. One of the things that Tata has done really well is it doesn't let you know inside the cabin that you're driving a three-cylinder engine. It doesn't have the thrum that you get from a three-cylinder engine typically coming inside the cabin. So they've done a decent job with the refinement of the engine. Another thing that they've done a good job with is they've put most of those 113 Newton meters of torque lower down in the engine. So it's not that hard, to be on a higher gear with less speeds at a lower RPM. That's not a problem in this car at all. As an example, I'm at the speed of about 30 right now. And at the speed of about 30, 35, I'm on fourth gear. The car has no problem cruising at this fourth gear. It's not giving you any vibrations, anything in the cabin itself. So when you're driving this car in the city, honestly gives you a good experience because it's refined. It doesn't let you know it's a three-cylinder. And that's basically, a really good characteristic of the engine itself. Now, while talking about actually getting up and going, I'm going to go ahead and place this in second gear and just see what the pull of this car is. And yes, at the end of the day, since it's a 1.2 liter three-cylinder, it doesn't have the get-go that you probably want in a very quick overtaking situation. But that's all right. That's not what this car was meant to do in the first place. Of course, the looks of this car might complement it in a way where it's really, really fast because it looks so good. However, it's perfectly fine just the way it is in terms of the way this engine performs. And I presume the buyers of this specific car aren't trying to sort of overtake and race through the city as much as someone like me who is an enthusiast would like to do so. Now, while talking about the drive experience, I'd also like to talk about a little bit of ergonomics. So I think the steering wheel is placed quite well in this car, and everything is very clearly visible to me through the steering wheel. My speed, my digital gauge cluster, very easily available, very easily sort of scrollable on this section right here. It gives me a lot of information. It gives me distance to empty, range, average kilometer per liter, so basically the fuel consumption, and all of that is really good. The one thing that I would like to actually point out while I'm driving this car is it's got a very thick A-pillar. This actually hinders visibility a little bit. I just tried making a turn earlier on, and this A-pillar actually made it a little bit hard for me to make that turn because it creates a little bit of a blind spot. So if they could just make that a little bit thinner, that would be great. But all in all, great drive experience, very refined engine, and as long as you're not going to ask it to overtake at crazy speeds, this car is going to keep you very happy. And it's also it also gives you great fuel efficiency, so that's great. Another thing I'd like to point out about this car is actually how easy it is to get it in and out of tight traffic gaps. As you can see right now, I'm in the middle of a few cars, and it's really not that hard to maneuver this car within traffic gaps. And from what, again, the owner tells me, they've never had a hard time getting in and out of traffic gaps and actually maneuvering the car through city traffic. So what it's meant to do, it does really, really well. And that's everything that I have from a driver's experience point of view. All right, to conclude the video today, I'd like to just point out that this is a very, very good looking car. It's very good for the city. I think the 1.2 liter engine in this does a good job within the city and maybe a great job on the highway as well. However, if you are a person who goes for highway runs more, I'd recommend the turbo version of this car. And of course, the safety aspect of this car really brings out everything along with the design to make this a really, really nice car. Here, another thing I'd like to point out here is this car doesn't come with an automatic. So if there's anybody in this space looking for an automatic, you don't get that here, unfortunately. But of course, you've got other options if you are looking for automatics. Now, what I'm going to do is drive away with this car, and you should definitely like, comment, and subscribe to this channel. And please let me know if there's any other car you'd like me to feature.